Hello, welcome again to FAIRtax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
And we are the FAIRtax Guys. With you every week, trying to convince as many people as we can to get on your Congress critters, tell them to vote for the FAIRtax, unless you just particularly love filling out tax returns and love getting your withholding from your paycheck and love paying those payroll taxes and all that kind of garbage. If you want to get rid of that, you can. Support the FAIRtax.
Yeah. And then they would have to love being put on hold by the IRS, too, if they call in for help.
You know what I'd like to do with the IRS? I'd like to, throw them in the lake.
This is a family show.
That's how I'll throw them in the lake so they don't, in a lake full of hungry alligators so they don't come back. But that's what the FAIRtax does. It literally gets rid of the income tax. If you're unfamiliar with a FAIRtax, people lump it together with a flat tax sometimes, but the FAIRtax gets rid of the income tax. I mean, jerks it out by the roots and replaces it with a consumption tax you pay at the cash register when you buy something new.
Yeah.
Buy something used, no tax.
Yeah, that's a big feature right there.
No charge
Used
on that.
items are not subject to the FAIRtax. So for people just getting by, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and if you want to see the economy take off,
oh, absolutely,
that's the FAIRtax. What drives the economy? Business.
That's
and
right.
We have got a business person extraordinaire we're going to talk to here in just a few minutes here on FAIRtax Power Radio. But first you want to do your Grassroots Corner, right?
Yep. This is the Grassroots Corner by Jim Bennett, who is the AFFT Grassroots Director. All right. Jim.Bennett@fairtax.org. And after I get done with this, if you think of something of a grassroots nature, don't hesitate to get a hold of Jim. Jim.Bennett@fairtax.org. Bennett has 2 N's and 2 T's. Okay, this one is reader responses from sticky ideas. Now, in the past, I've reviewed, he has been going over piece by piece a book that has the title Made to Stick: Why Some Ideas Take Hold and Others Come Unstuck. It's by the Heath brothers, and it's Arrow Books 2007. And they put it very simply. They use the word success, and they take each letter, like the S in success stands for simplicity, the U in success stands for unexpected, and so on. So he's done the first 3. He asked people to come up with something simple that gets the message across about the FAIRtax. And he was pleased to get a number of responses from people. For instance, Ruth R. in Florida says, the FAIRtax allows you to keep all your earnings, and you only incur a 23% tax when you buy things. IRS disappears. April 15th is just another day. All right, that's simple to the point, but it gets the main subject across.
Yes.
Then we got some real short ones. Jim S. came up with several suggestions. Make work pay again. I like that one. Make work pay again. All right. Tax spending, not jobs. Ooh, that's a good one. All right. Keep all your paycheck.
Ooh,
what a concept.
Yeah. Keep what you earn. How about that?
Yeah, paycheck or retirement distribution.
Yes, that would be our case.
Yeah. This one's a little more aggressive. Taxing work is stupid. The FAIRtax is a smart tax.
There you go. That works.
Yeah, I agree with them too. Here's one for social justice warriors. The FAIRtax is tax justice.
Indeed.
And for revolutionaries, liberate workers, pass the FAIRtax. And a dig at the establishment, invented by economists, not lobbyists. And he goes on. So anyways, those are some great, and I think there's a few more, but I don't want to take any more time. If you're not getting the Grassroots Corner in a separate email, you need to go to fairtax.org and sign up there with your name and address and email address. You will not get spam when you sign up with fairtax.org. They never sell or share your information. So that's a good way to keep up with us.
All right, we've got to move on here. We've got a rather extensive interview here with our friend Tony McKnight.
Yeah.
And let's just get right to it. Roll it. And FAIRtax Power Radio is pleased to be talking today with Tony McKnight. Thank you for taking the time out of your extremely busy schedule to talk to us.
Absolutely.
Now, Tony has been a friend of ours for quite a while, and he is what I call an entrepreneur extraordinaire. I mean, now, most folks have all they can handle to keep their hands in one business. You have got a bunch of irons in the fire as far as businesses that you own and operate. Kind of elaborate, what keeps you busy?
Pretty much everything. Our main business is in the firearms space, but we also have another business within the survival and prepping space, and then we also have a health products business. And between those, they keep us pretty busy, and then we are also very involved in grassroots politicking.
Okay. And this nice recording studio
And
is part of your...
This is part of our operation.
Part of your operation
It supports
as well.
everything that we do.
Okay. Well, what we really want to get into today, I want to get into the mind of a businessman
No problem.
and just see how much of a hassle, how much of an aggravation, how much headache the IRS causes a business person.
That's a good question. And, to be honest, the IRS is out there. We know what they are. And the truth is, as long as you file your stuff on time and you pay what they think that you owe, they pretty much leave you alone. Where things really get a little squirrely is at the local and the state levels. There's so much legislative stuff that kind of dovetails into one another. But the reality is, once you get one of them on your back, then you're kind of going to get all of them on your back.
Oh, they communicate with each other through back channels and decide that they're going to get
Exactly.
you. Now, you said you had an IRS horror story one time.
We've had, we've had quite a few run-ins with the IRS. I mean, personally, we've been audited since 2005. And pretty much now it's every year we're audited. And we've gotten used to that, one, on a personal level, and two, on a business level. And within the industries that we operate in, now that we've moved into firearms and then we had our segue into politics, we're always under tremendous scrutiny from the IRS.
Yeah.
So
now, that's one of the things that is a big knock on the IRS. It can and is used in a politically motivated fashion. If they don't like, if there's an administration in power that doesn't like firearms dealers, or they can turn up the heat on you.
That is true.
Just doing that.
Fortunately or unfortunately, we've gotten to the size now that we don't have to usually deal with them directly, where in the past we'd invite them to come and sit in our offices for a couple weeks or more, however long it took us to get through the process. Now we negotiate through a legal intermediary that negotiates on our behalf. And the truth is, for the IRS, really what they are is, if you can separate the government body from the people that work for them, you're really dealing with the people. And you create the rapport with the people, and what they want to do is they want to do their job. And as long as you're keeping your records and you provide all the paperwork and stuff that they're looking for, you're in good shape. Unless you really are doing something that you shouldn't be doing, they're going to figure it out eventually, and then that's the IRS you really don't want bothering.
But the problem is the tax code is so complicated.
Yes.
We look at some of the Fair Tax Power Radio, we look at Congress.gov, we look at some of the proposed legislation, and we look back there and this says, the Internal Revenue Code is amended by adding a section 6432 under this thing. It is just, how easy is it to run afoul of them without really meaning to?
And that is a reality. It is very easy to run afoul of some tax code somewhere and some regulation somewhere. And unfortunately, part of the cost of doing business is having people on staff to do that. And like I said, as for us, 5 years ago, it was myself and one or two other people that would handle the interactions with the IRS. Now we've got more people that handle just the bookkeeping, just the filing requirements. And now, like I said, we've got a team of legal people and tax attorneys and tax experts who we're always consulting with, just to make sure we don't run afoul of anything, because there are so many regulations and they change all the time.
How big a cost is that to your business to keep that kind of resources on staff so you can stay out of jail?
It's a multiple six-figure a year cost right now, and that cost is only going to go up as our businesses grow.
And that's like what people don't understand a lot is that is a cost that you have no choice but to pass on to your customers.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah. So if the IRS went away, if the income tax went away, if we had the fair tax, it would cost you like 6 figures less to do business. I mean, is that accurate?
That is true. I mean, there would still be some administrative requirement, but there wouldn't be as much of the legal requirements of having somebody who's always up to date on what's going on and what the regulations are. It'll be much simpler.
And I've heard that you can ask the two different people at the IRS the same question and get totally different answers.
There's no doubt about that. That has been my experience.
that you have run into.
Yeah, one of our last interactions, it was funny because the revenue agent, we gave him some information. He said, I don't know if you can do that. And he said, I'll have to get back to you on that. But it took him 6 months to come back to us with the answer.
So it is not uncommon at all for the tax code to be so complicated, so cumbersome, and so, a big labyrinth of ideas that the people that are charged with enforcing it have no clue what it says.
There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. Because you've seen the tax code, it's huge. I mean, no one person can know every item in the tax code. And actually, one of the gentlemen we do have working with us and represented us worked for 20 years for the IRS in the criminal division, and he's actually the one that helps prepare our tax returns and works very closely with us now.
Okay.
And he's somebody that was on the front lines. They were the ones that would show up with the gun and the badge and repossess stuff. So it's nice to have him on our side, but even he says, he's like, you can't know everything,
No, you can't. And how difficult is it to enforce a sales tax? I mean, your gun store is a retail business. Compare the time, effort, money that you have to put into complying with the federal income tax code versus the state sales tax.
Well, and then also for us, not only do we have sales tax at the state level, but there are, last count, 7,600 different jurisdictions around the country, and we ship nationally. So we're in the position now where we're starting to collect and remit sales tax in all these different jurisdictions around the country. That's a huge burden. Prior to technology where you could outsource the service, I mean, you're talking, you'd have to have so many people on staff just trying to keep up with all the paperwork and the filing requirements.
Well, now your computer pretty well keeps up with most of your state sales tax.
We do, but that's an added cost.
Yeah.
We have to absorb that cost to be able to remit to all these different jurisdictions.
But compare what it costs to deal with the sales tax versus what it costs to deal with the income tax.
Oh yeah, it's a much bigger hit to deal with the income tax for sure. Yeah, there's no doubt.
No doubt about that. Now, when people think about the impact of the tax code on businesses, they think, well, they got to pay the taxes, they've got to, keep all their accountants on staff. What other aspects of the IRS causes a businessman a headache that most people just really wouldn't think of?
Honestly, most of it is the filing requirements, the monthly or the quarterly filings. Where you get in trouble is if you miss one of those. Whether you collected the tax or not, you always have to file the paperwork in a timely manner, because otherwise that just starts the snowball of, hey, where's this? And then there's a fee, there's a late fee, and there's the interest charges, and it never ends. And that for small business owners is tough, because there's a lot of paperwork that you have to do and that you have to keep up with. And if you don't have somebody that you can go to, whether they're on staff or whether it's somebody that's outsourced to you, it's a burden you have to keep up with.
How much easier would your business be to operate if you did not have to deal with the IRS, if it was strictly the FAIRtax?
I mean, that'd be great. If there was basically one flat fee that you paid and you didn't have to do all this administrative burden, it would be wonderful. And I mean, it'd be great for everybody. I've always said that the FAIRtax really is to the benefit of the individual, simplifying all the requirements, and it's just very simple. It's a great idea.
Now, from your perspective, as someone operating a retail business, it would be relatively simple just to collect that and remit it on a monthly basis.
Absolutely. Yeah, no problem.
Your record would just have to be how much did I sell, how much did I collect, send that amount in, end of story.
That's exactly right. That would be much nicer.
One thing that baffles me that I have never fully understood is if business would be so much easier, so much simpler, so much less costly if we could get rid of the income tax, why aren't more business people supporting the FAIRtax?
I don't think they understand what it is, and I also think part of the problem is it's just like the war on drugs. There's so many other agencies that support the the IRS and the taxing authorities, that people are afraid that, well, if we go to this fair tax thing, then all of us are going to be out of a job, or we're going to be having to figure something else out. It's all the supporting industries that usually aren't for simplification.
Now, I understand that how big business, the folks, the Ford Motor Company and Chrysler and Walmart and folks like that can afford to spend millions of dollars on lobbyists, somehow feel that they are buying an advantage over their competitors, that the income tax gives them a competitive advantage that their competitors can't get.
That's true, because it's like playing Monopoly. When you know the rules and you know how the game is played, the game is tilted in the favor of those who can afford to pay for the expertise in order to play the game. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt about that.
Well, you've no doubt talked to other business people as well about the fair tax. What's been their reaction? Why would anyone not want to rid themselves of the burden of the IRS?
You know what? I think most people do, and they do believe it. They just don't think it's ever going to get passed. And the hard part is getting them to understand, look, we just got to keep it in the conversation. You got to keep pushing it, keep talking about it, keep putting it out there. Because, at the end of the day, if we had simpler tax legislation, or simpler tax code, it would benefit everybody.
It would, and that's the one thing I've never really fully understood, is why more people like you that have small business or even medium-sized or large businesses as well, why would they not like it? Because one of the things that has sent a lot of our manufacturing capacity overseas
taxes
is the oppressive tax laws in this country.
Absolutely.
And a place like China comes in and gives them tax breaks, and it becomes simpler and easier to do business overseas than here.
There is no doubt about that. At the corporate income tax level, there's definitely a benefit to locating certain segments of your business outside of the country. That is an unfortunate thing. There's trillions of dollars outside the U.S. right now that could be repatriated back in with a simpler tax code.
Yeah, Neil Bortz has talked about these surveys they've discussed with international leaders of international corporations. What would your response be if there was no income tax in the United States? And like 40% of them say, we'll build our next plant or our next distribution center there, and the other 60%, heck, we're moving the whole thing lock, stock, and barrel over there.
That's true, because businesses do understand that the highest quality of labor is in the United States. It's just that economically they figure, well, it's cheaper and the tax rates are lower over here, we'll do that. But, if they did get rid of the corporate tax rate or lowered it to a flat rate, you'd have so many companies moving back, it wouldn't be funny.
Yeah, well, you saw what happened when the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act brought the top rate down from 39 to 21%?
Big difference.
And what would it be if you cut it from 21 to 0?
Or even 5.
Well, the fair tax cuts it to 0.
Yeah.
So that's what we would love to do. So how can we, as fair tax supporters watching the program, what is the best way to approach a businessman and sell him on the fair tax? What would
I think it's like everything else. It's education, just putting it in perspective that they'd understand of, hey, how much simpler would your business and your life be if there was a fair tax rather than the onerous tax legislation that we have now.
Yeah. We've got a CPA friend that lives out in Colorado, and he busts the myth all the time that CPAs hate the fair tax because it'll put us all out of business.
Right.
And the people that you currently have employed working on the tax side could be helping you grow your business in other ways, could they not?
True. And the CPAs, they're still going to exist because you're still going to have somebody you want to backstop and double check your paperwork.
Yeah, but you still need to keep records for your own purpose.
Exactly. And there's still going to be a taxing agency that double checks your paperwork. It just won't be as Byzantine as it is now.
Okay. What are some of the other things that your folks could do if they didn't have to work on taxes? How could they help you?
There's plenty of other stuff. Just help work on the financial statements. And actually, we wouldn't need as many people in order to deal with all the extra administration. Mm-hmm. We'd have different people doing different jobs rather than having so many people on the administrative aspect of dealing with tax law and revenue and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, our CPA friend says he works for one of the bigger accounting firms in the country. He says they have hundreds of people who do nothing but try to keep up with the tax code, keyword there, try.
Yeah.
Because it's always changing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And if your CPA misses something, guess who's on the hook?
You are. Oh, I know. That's always the way it is.
So that would be something, that would be a huge thing, I would think, that business people would like to get off of that hook.
Yes.
And make sure that if there were no IRS, there are no tax code to run afoul of, you just, make sure that your computer is keeping track of the sales tax you collect and remit
That's
it properly.
Exactly. Exactly right.
And you've got it. Well, all right. Well, I'll tell you what. That's pretty good insight there. So we do appreciate you talking to us. We're actually going to run a little bit quicker on time.
We're doing
here, so
good.
I know that you're a busy guy. You've got something else to go work on. And
Always.
Again,
But I've enjoyed it. I appreciate it. Anything we can continue to do, we will. And like I said, just keep talking to people about the fair tax and trying to educate them and meet them where they're at.
All right, we'll do that. Tony McKnight, thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Bob.
There was a lot there.
Oh, there's a lot of information in that short video. Yeah, Tony. And Tony should know, because he and his wife have a number of businesses. I mean, they started out small, like every small business person, but they have grown, and where they've seen a need for a new business, they've expanded into it,
Yeah, and every time they've expanded into something and gotten more successful, the IRS is right there with their hand out wanting their piece of the action.
Sure. And I remember what his wife told me once when we were chatting with her. He said he kind of started Big Daddy Guns as a hobby, but after a while he said, this is turning into a real business.
Yeah.
With real headaches because of the income tax.
Yeah, which is rather strange in a college town, but it works. So
yeah.
But did you catch the part where it says if you pay what the IRS thinks you owe, then you're okay?
Yeah. And who says the IRS is right all the time? They aren't.
The IRS says they're right all the time. If they say something, you've got to prove them wrong.
That's right, and that means you have to challenge them in court, and you have to bear the expense of the court costs. All right, because we don't have loser pays in this country. You still have to cough up a lot of money to take them to court, and most people can't do that. Most small business people can't do that.
And whose money does the IRS use to go to court with?
Let's see. I think it's the taxpayers.
I think it's ours.
Yeah.
Okay.
So another thing that he you asked him about how, if he's under surveillance or whatever.
Pretty much.
He said on the personal side, they get audited. They've been audited by the IRS every year since 2005. Holy cow!
That's picking on somebody.
So, and of course, they have to hire people to keep, make sure all the records are clear and concise. And when the IRS asks for something, these people can send it to them. So that means it's another expense on the personal side to make sure that they're staying within the confines of the IRS code. Big expense.
But on the business side, who ultimately pays that?
Yeah, well, it's the customers. Yeah, it's the customers, because it's all a cost of doing business. They have to roll it into the price of their products, the different businesses that Tony talked about, and it's their customers that end up paying for it. And he mentioned that too.
I thought it was interesting that they've kind of outsourced their dealings with the IRS to a third party now.
Yeah, because he said that at one time the IRS would come and spend weeks there. They would have to provide them with an office, and the IRS would come and spend weeks, and then do you have this record? Do you have these numbers, and so forth? So now they've hired a third party to keep up with this and be the intermediate between them and the IRS.
So their compliance costs just went up.
It's crazy. Oh my gosh!
Who invented this crazy system?
Yeah, so it's crazy.
We will be the voices of reason and get rid of it.
All right, yeah, and and I've never heard this before. You asked him about why don't businesses and so forth, why don't the bigger businesses or businesses in general favor the fair tax? And he mentioned, I never thought of this before, the IRS has a bunch of supporting industries. Of course, every government agency, especially in the Beltway, has a bunch of supporting industries, and if the IRS goes away, that's less work for them. So they don't want to get rid of the income tax, even though it's killing the country.
So the IRS has its own network of vendors and suppliers.
Yeah,
if you
exactly.
will.
Yeah.
And
So
they don't want to see their sugar daddy go away.
that makes sense, but I never thought of that before. And I never heard one of our FAIRtax people mention that before either.
We'll write that down, and we'll.
Yep, that's a good one. So, anyways, very interesting video with Tony. I suggest that after this video is done, you go back and listen to it again, because there really is a lot of information in that 16 minutes and 19 seconds.
And again, we're going to try to do more interviews, but we want to make sure that they're substantive, that they are
That's right.
people who actually bring good quality content to the show.
Yeah.
And so we'll be doing a few more of those than we have been. We're not going to be a primarily interview show. We never have been. But when we can find somebody like Tony that will take the time to talk to us.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
We can get some good information from them. We'll do that.
Okay, our call to action. Well, first, join AFFT, the national group, all right? It's very important. Now, you can join them without contributing if you want to, all right? But we ask you, contribute a little bit. I mean, even if it's only $5. AFFT has monthly expenses in the range of about $10,000. It doesn't seem possible, but yes, as a national organization, keeping up with all the IRS codes, all right, maintaining a database, sending out emails, and so forth.
And that's true, even though we're all volunteers.
That's right, and there are no paid positions, but they do have expenses. So if you join the 1040 Club, fairtax.org/1040, then you commit to contributing $10.40 a month, and those continuing contributions are very important for the AFFT.
Yes, and check out the FairtaxLogoStore.org. There's a lot of really good stuff there. We're going to cut another promo. In fact, we might even put it on the end of this show. They've got a new product there that's really cool. They've got one of those high-technology bumper stickers.
Yeah.
People are like, what is a high-technology bumper sticker? Well, you just have to stay tuned and find out.
Yep. So, yeah, that's a good one. Okay, and PopVox, POPVOX, that's where you can see the status of any pending legislation, such as H.R. 25. That's a good one to go to and take, from the Fairtax Logo Store. You can also get these scrolling banners, right, which is one of our favorite little toys.
All right.
And take that to your next town hall whenever they start having town halls again.
And real quickly, our friend in Winston-Salem, Bob Scarborough, is looking at getting FairtaX Power Radio on some other terrestrial radio stations besides WTOB up there. But you can help him out if you like. If you just approach your local station and see if they'd like to carry the show. They can have it for no charge. Now, unfortunately, we don't have any budget to pay for it. But if they need a good public affairs program, then FairtaX Power Radio might be certainly worth considering.
Yeah, when that gets rolling along, we're going to share more information about that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're, again, going up there live on Sunday, July 5th. We'll be broadcasting live from WTOB. We'll videotape that, and or actually that's not tape anymore. It's just digital.
Yeah,
but
whatever.
We'll have a recording of it to show it for everybody later. So hang on for that. And that's going to wrap up this edition of FairtaX Power Radio. Thank you again so much for watching and listening. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Ron Malero.
We are the FairtaX guys, reminding you once again that the FairtaX is the only truly fair tax. And once you understand it,
you'll demand it.
Hello, I'm Bob Paxton, one of the FairtaX guys, and today I'm going to show you how easy it is to apply, clean, remove, and reposition the new FairtaX bumper sticker now available in the FairtaX Logo Store at fairtaxlogostore.org. Now, this new sticker is made with new technology that allows for easy application. You just peel off the backing like you would with any ordinary bumper sticker and apply it to any surface of your vehicle. It's especially made to stick to metal, glass, or plastic. Cleaning is a breeze. You simply wipe off any dirt with a damp cloth or towel. And it's car wash safe. You can run it through the car wash as many times as you like without worrying about it becoming dislodged or torn during the process. But the greatest thing about this new sticker is that you can remove it and put it back anytime you want, as many times as you want. You can reposition it and it will still have that like new appearance. And best of all, this new sticker will not damage your vehicle. It won't tear and it won't leave any adhesive residue behind.
You can get yours by visiting the FAIRtax Logo Store at fairtaxlogostore.org. Oh, and don't forget to watch FAIRtax Power Radio on Facebook every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern.